Hi guys, welcome to this module in Microsoft Access. In this module we're going to look at creating basic forms using the wizard and also creating a form using design. We're also going to finish off a few queries just to make sure we've got everything covered in regards to the basic queries. In later sessions we will also look at some more complicated queries and some more advanced queries. But for now this session is about forms, form design and using the form wizard. So first of all, let's just recap the table. This is a table of information and also the purpose of a form. The form is an input mechanism to put information into your tables or queries. The form also has a secondary use which can be used as a navigational aid for your database to manage your database, which we'll look at a later date. But for now we're going to create a form based on this table that will input the data into these rows. We'll close that down for a moment. Click on create and then we've got several options here: form wizard, blank form, form design. But the first one, which is the one I'm going to pick, is this one. This will just create a form based on the table I had selected. So there's the table I had selected and it has created a form. Now we have come into what is called layout view, which allows you to adjust the layout slightly. So if I click at the end here, for example, I can bring all of these fields down to a smaller size. If I then click on view and look at the form itself, you lose that functionality. Now how this works is, there's the first record of the database. If I want to create a new one, I click on this star symbol down the bottom there and it will create a new record. Now because this table's got a primary key, I would need to know what the next primary key is. I'm going to go 14. If it's not correct, it'll soon let me know, and then you fill in the information. I'll just put my details in here. I'm pressing my tab key to come down each box. I live in Leeds, West Yorkshire. LE2 2RT. These are all made up, by the way. I don't know what the Leeds code is, but I'll make that up. Something like that, and so on. And I joined today, and it was checked today. So I'm using the key command control semicolon to put today's date in. There's a record, and now if I want a new record I can click OK on the star, or click the star at the bottom, and I'm ready to go for another one. Now if I close this form, let's see what has happened there. If I click on the cross, yes, I do want to save it, and I'm going to put FRM, indicating form, in front of the rest of that name. So it's a form looking at the table address details. So click OK to that. Open address details, and there is the information that I've just typed in. So you can see the form is just an interface to put information into these tables or queries. So close that down, open up the form again, which now sits in the form group. Open the form again, and let's have a look at some of the other things we can do. So all the filters that we did before in the table view, so for example, if I go into a different one, Leeds, you can use filter by selection equal Leeds. It doesn't give you a result as it did in the table, but you can see at the bottom there it says 1 of 4, and then I can clear that through the advanced clear all filters so it's not there. I could have toggled that, but I've just cleared it off. Now all of these filters, each field has their filter on in the same way it did in table view, so you've got the same functionality as you had in tables within a form, and I'm not going to go through all of that again. If you want to see how to do filters, go on to the module that covers filters. Let's close that form down. So that's how you create a form using the first option there. Now I'm going to create a form using form design. So I click on form design and I get the form grid. Now this is slightly different and maybe a bit more long-winded. However, personally this is how I would always do it, because the problem with using the wizard option is that if there are a lot of columns, the wizard sometimes truncates or squashes things together, and you end up spending more time sorting out the form than you would if you did it yourself. So I like to do it myself, and what you need to do for this is activate the fields pane and the property pane. So this is what we're going to be flicking between. But first of all, we have to tell this form which table it's looking at. So I am on the property sheet, and it's asking there, look, record source at the top, and I need to just tell it to look at table address details. Now that is seeing that. If I go back to the fields, I now see all the fields from that table. Now for this example, I'm going to bring them all on together, so I've used my shift key to select everything, and then I can drag and drop like so. Now if I just delete that for a minute, if you go too close, what you end up doing is crushing the labels, so be careful how far you go. I'm just going to drop that like so, and then there's the fields. If I go into view, you can see the form, and I come back into design, you can see it in design. So obviously some of these fields you can move them, you can resize the fields like so, so some of these fields don't need to be as big as they are at the moment, and some of the ones need to be longer. So it's a case of, at this level of Access, you are manually resizing these. As you get more advanced with Access, you can create formulas, and you can use different features to automatically resize these boxes so you never get anything truncated, which means chopped off. So all of those, they can stay the same, I think. If I have a quick look at that, okay, maybe the city field doesn't need to be that big. The city fields in the UK are not too long. There are a few though, so I'll just leave it like so. And then if I want to color this in, I can highlight all of these fields, and then I can go up to the Format tab and select a color scheme for the background maybe. So go for blue and leave the font. Maybe if you go for the font as black, so the labels stand out. And then the back of the form I can also color in, so I'll pick a different color. You can sort of lose the plot a little bit here with the colors. If I go back to design and have a quick look at that, that's a terrible form, but never mind. I was never good at color schemes. Now I can move these fields around by just simply clicking on them and using this tool to move them around, and when I do that, the label will come with the field. So this bit on the right is the field, this bit on the left is a label. And you can see these two squares on the top left hand corner. If I want to move them independently of each other, that is where I need to click. So if I go and put that one on top like that, and then click away, I can now move them again together, but they are sitting on top of each other. So instead of going down the screen, I can move these across like that. So I'll just do that again, move that one over there, and then you can create a very customized form by doing this like so. Now quick look at that, and you can see there would be a lot of editing needing to be done to make this look good. So the color scheme would probably have to change. You maybe need to get rid of some of the box lines so it doesn't stand out so much, but that is basically how you would reposition this information. Now in terms of page headers and form headers, if I'm just going to activate the form header, what I've done there, I've just right clicked onto the detail bar at the top there, and I'm clicking on form header. So the form header is a different color scheme, so I'll put it to the same color. I think it's that one. Now what you've got in this design tab are some tools or controls, and the one for a text box, because I want to put a form title there, is this AA button, label it says there. If I click that and then create a label, and I'll just call this Staff Details 2019. Now when I click away from that, obviously that's quite small. I can adjust the style and the format. I'll change the size to quite a big style, and then center that and put the font to black, and so on. So when you format text in Access within a text box, it is the box that you are centering it within, not the page. So if I make this box smaller, it's still centered but it's centered within this box, and then you position the box. You could pull it all the way across if you wanted to, but there is some time penalty to do all this, but the end product will be great, and you would only ever have to do it once when you first create the form. So that's the form header. Now if I go to design and have a look at that, there's my form header. Now if I go back into design and have a look at, in fact I didn't go into design there, did I? I went into form view. So back into design now. Now if I right click here and go page header, I get another space, and this time I'm going to do a similar sort of thing, so I'll just call this It's Easy. It's Easy Training. Now I want the same layout, so I can cheat a little bit and do this. So I'll click on that one, go to the Format tab, and click on the Format Painter, which copies the format, and then click on this box, and then I get the same format. It's a quick way of doing it. Now if I go into have a look at this one, click on View, I don't see the page header. So go back to Design. So the page header and the page footer is only shown when you print preview. Now if I just move this up a bit so there's no space there, page footer, if I let's just go back up to the top of it. Let's say I want to put the date on this. To put the date on the top of this form, I need to use this button, AB, and then in there I type equals date, open and close bracket. Let's have a quick look at that. And it gives you the date. Now if I go back into design, obviously I don't need the label for that, so I'm just going to click on the label and press delete, and I'm going to resize this. In fact, I'll copy the format from there using that Format Painter. Now that's made that slightly too big, so I will actually drop that font down, but the format's the same. Wrong one. This one. Drop that down to 12, and then have a quick look at that one. Design, View, and then I get the date there. So that's the computer clock, so that will always give you the right date. Now in terms of the header, there's the form header, the report header, or the form header is there. The page header can only be seen, like I said, when you do print preview. So if I click on print preview, just go into print preview, then you see there's the form header, there's the page header. Now I could have put that date in the page header. Now this doesn't look great. Normally you don't print forms off. When I first got into Access many years ago, I used to print forms off because I thought that's what they were for. What you should really do is use forms as a data input mechanism and print reports off. But just so you can see that, the same thing is going to happen when we do reports, but I'll close that one down. Back to where we were. If we go back into design, come down to the bottom there. So anything I put into the page footer will be shown only in print preview. Form footer, if I put anything in there, it will be at the bottom of each of those forms that you saw. So it's totally up to you what you want to do there. I personally probably wouldn't even have a page footer and page header in a form, and I'll just leave it as that, so you've got like data input. Now if you've been moving these fields around, you sometimes have to make sure that the order that you enter data, so if I just go into this, have a look at form, if I press my tab key, it's going across in the correct order. But if you've mixed these up, if I go back into design, if you've mixed these up, for example, if I move that field up there and then go back into view, now when I press my tab key, it's going like so, and then it'll jump up to that. So the order is not correct, so you must reset the order, because it's very irritating when you are inputting data if the order is wrong. So over here, tab order, this is where you would do that. If I wanted to change that county field to be third, I would just push it up there like so, and that would reset the order. I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to cancel that so it doesn't do that, and I'm going to put that one back to where it was. Now you have some other options to arrange things. If I select these fields, you can arrange your fields like so, but to be fair, I personally would rather do it myself, unless, well, if it's a big form, you definitely want to do it yourself. Even a small form, you are the one in control of this, you're the one that's going to be entering the data, so therefore it's best if you do that yourself. So basically that's the designed our own little form there. We haven't saved it. I will save it. So save, it's going to be FRM TBL, because it's still looking at the table address details. Address details, I better put a number 1 after it for this because we've already got one. And then I can close that down. And now there's that. If I open it again, there's your form, and you can see how bad it is. There's the one from the wizard. Now back to this one for a second. I can still, even though the computer created this one, I can still go into design and adjust these fields. But what you can see there is everything is going as a group, so it's all of this is like a table, it's all going together. What you need to do if you've used this method to create a form is you need to come into arrange, and you need to tick this off, remove layout, and then these will become individual boxes as it was before. If I click away, you can see I can resize these independently. Oh no, it's not letting me do that. So if I remove, let me just, I know what I did. I didn't do select the whole table, remove layout, and then that's it. I can adjust them individually. Okay, so it's totally up to you how you do that. Personally, I would do it myself through table design, because you're still having to do this afterwards if you've used this method. I'm not going to save that because I've totally killed that one off. So back to that one, close that one down. That is the method I would use. Even though at the moment that looks terrible, I would spend a lot more time making that look nice and functional. The colour schemes are optional, but I would probably use a different colour scheme to the one I've shown you there. But that is just a very quick introduction to forms, and then in the later sessions we'll look at forms in more detail, where you can have 2-3 tables worth of information in one single form. And we'll also look at forms as a navigational aid to get around a database. But that's it for now. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I can see you again.